I ever hand you the camera, again, it's me a couple months of this to get through it, everything. You don't want to be a complete geriatric. Which one is this one? Because the last time everybody would complain, like, who's that person who's just like heaving in the background? Holding the phone. Anyways, so continuing on with our spider guard, we're going to be looking at our triangle today. So I'm going to set this up first just to get our essential triangle basics down. So our partner's going to be on their knees. We're going to create a little bit of separation, go to the spider briefly, and then just launch our attack from there. So if I have Chris here, starting again closed guard. He has his basic posture, etc. I'm going to get my grips, and the nice thing about being in the closed guard is one of the easiest times to get strong grips. So thumb goes in, curl everything over, and then make sure that you remove the thumb. I'm going to hip out to one side, pulling my knee in, finding the hip, and then from here, my other foot comes on. Now I could potentially get both my knees in, but Chris is a little bit of a hobbit compared to me, so it's a bit tough, okay? So in other words, get your feet to the hips, I stretch to create a bit more room, and then I get my knees on the inside. Now that I have my legs on the inside, 1 foot at a time, just like we worked, foot into the elbow, I extend away and I scoop my butt away from that elongated leg, and then I set my other leg on. Now from here, just a little bit of backwards motion. It'll be a little bit more challenging and a little less necessary because he's on his knees. So FYI, this is not a good place to be on your knees if you are inside someone's spider guard. You don't have the potential to get away from my attacks. So once I've done that, a little bit of movement, kick and pull, foot to the hip. The leg that I just removed, that arm should be on the inside. My other foot's just gonna go past his shoulder, and I'm gonna break this grip as I pull. Now he may posture up in the motion of this, but he can only hinge at the knee. He won't be able to get that far. But still, as I pull down, I elevate my hip. Now the details that we want to have for that triangle is that leg that's going over and onto his neck, imagine you have teeth on the inside of your knee, and I'm trying to get as big of a bite out of his neck and trap as you can possibly get. A lot of people, they just kind of toss their legs up and they just cross here, and there's just too much room. So from the beginning again, set up your sleeve grips, hip out, get one knee inside, both feet to the hips, stretch, get your knees in. If he's still kind of holding on here, just break. If he's being difficult, foot on the face. Okay, don't worry, your legs will overpower his grips. From here, a little bit of back and forth movement, bent side drops, kick and pull to break the grip unless he doesn't have it. Foot on the hip, arm on the inside. Foot goes past the ear, and again, I want to take that bite out of his neck. So pull down and launch up, deep, cross. And then now we go through our basic finishing. So demonstratively, and what you should always feel like you should do, goes like so. Hips up, drop, and cross the arm, tucking it in as tight to his chest and my leg as I can. Basically, I want his chin sitting over the top of his bicep. Once I've got that, my knees come tight without releasing, and I grab on the inside of my shin. So don't grab on the outside and lock your own foot up. Grab on the inside. Then I'm free to let go because this grip took place of this. So if he wants to posture and explode out now, I've got him, okay? Foot on the hip, pivot and bite. So I'm looking into his ear, similar to when I'm going for an arm bar. And then I should be able to cinch and lock in underneath. Do your best not to be on top of your foot, okay? Get nice and tight. To finish, my knees pinch together this way. Don't just flex your legs. Then I hip up as I pull down into the position. So again, when we get this lock, don't just do this. I want to fold my knees together, and that's what's actually getting the good choke. One last time. Get your grips, get your knee inside, break. Again, if he's playing really hard, just put one foot on, very similar to what we did to recover guard, one foot to the chest, and just start to kick away. And again, we'll find our positioning. A little bit of movement back and forth. Do your best not to pinch your knees together, nice and wide. And then when you're ready, the bent side drops. Find the hip, arms on the inside of that foot. Pull down as I launch up. Nice deep bite out of his neck. Hips up to cross the arm. Grab your shin, foot on the hip. Pivot and bite. Lock it up tight, knees hips, and pull. Don't do this, like we're not trying to comb his hair. Okay, catch, catch, pull. Okay guys, we'll start with that. 1, 2. Let's do it. We're gonna go off of the person on their feet now. Okay, again, if you are on your knees when someone has their spider guard on, you're just asking to get triangled, right? You have no real potential to defend. You have no range to escape from this. So, partners starting on their feet this time. Feet are on the hips, and I set up from here. So this should feel a lot more comfortable and more natural for the spider guard, because again, it doesn't really make sense for someone to be in this on their knees. So from here, again, a little bit of back and forth motion. Same exact technique. Drop the foot, kick and pull, square up, and you notice my hips are already elevating. His arm that I just removed is to the inside, the other leg is here. So now we just practice elevating the hip. So if my hips are dead and I do this, like, again, I don't have anything. Foot to the hip, arm on the inside, I elevate. I'm bridging off of my shoulder blades to catch. Now, partner, you do want to drop to your knees just for saving your lower back. Yes, he could stack me, but that will usually end up being countered and you just fall onto your head and end up in a mounted triangle, okay? So for the sake of the technique, drop to your knees, find your posture. Now, we're gonna add a couple details to the finish here. Everything's the same. Cross the arm, but if he was defending and he has his arm pinched in, if I just try and drag the arm, it's tough. But if I arch my back, there's no platform. Plus I can get a post underneath my own elbow here, or under his elbow, so as I drop, I get the power of the ground coming through. But the main thing is just, he locks his elbow in, so I take the wedge away. Grab. Now, when you do this, you notice how my knees are past the line of my hip? This opens up his neck, okay? So we just illustrate this here. If he's leaning forward and my butt's underneath him, my hip line is here, and my knee is where my elbow is. So his neck is really open. Most of the power is going into his chest. So to make sure that our triangle ends up a lot stronger, across that arm, I grab my shin. Before pivoting, shoulder walk out a bit. Get your hips underneath the line of his neck. This also forces his chin open, which is really uncomfortable. And then I pivot towards the end. And this is a much more powerful choke. Plus, okay, sorry, he's already tapping. Plus, it's harder for him to drive in and stack you at that point. Okay, so again, from the beginning, he's up on his feet. Again, obviously, feet on the hips. He's grabbing my legs to pass. I set up like we did the other day. A little bit of motion. Kick and pull, find the hip. Kick through, catch. He drops to his knees. Cross the arm, grab your shin, foot onto the hip. And again, don't just pivot from here, because look at where my butt is. It's way out here. Shoulder walk away first. Think like you're trying to pull his head off with your leg, and then cinch it up. Knees tight, heels tight, and get your grip. If you have someone who's a little bit wider shouldered, or you have thick legs or short legs, and you're having an issue still trying to get this foot underneath, the same kind of biting mentality really helps. You ratchet it in. Every single time you open that heel up, that foot's gonna slowly slide in. So at any point you start to struggle, shoulder walk, pivot, and you're still here, just keep on digging the heel down, and you'll slowly eat your own ankle, and you'll get your technique in. Okay? So same general idea, add the details in. 1, 2. Ooh, nice. So we have to deal with the stack. So there's obviously many options. Now you always want to think, like, especially if you're rolling with someone new or big, always respect the stack. Some people, like, they, you know, especially if they really don't know what they're doing, they will just try and bulldoze you right over the back of your neck. That's not fun, okay? The key thing, just like doing any sort of a back roll, is to make sure you get your head out of the way, so you roll over the shoulder and you exhale with any of that. Now, why people don't do it past white belt usually, unless they're very large, because it works. If you're big and you put weight on people's necks, they tend to let go of things. Is that you will do that a couple times, and then you will get countered, and you'll end up in a mounted triangle, and that's never a pleasant experience, okay? And it's very difficult to get out of that. So you adjust into using actual, like, escapes. very important to know, especially off the spider here, because naturally he is falling forward into the position. So everything's the same, a little bit of movement, break the grips, pop. Now, one thing before we get there, we are catching a triangle. So think about catching a ball. You don't just have your hand here and have the ball hit your hand and then don't grab it, because then you're not catching it. You're losing it, right? So your goal here, as soon as you have the entrance, like even if I don't post off the hip, like I'm catching him. Get your heels down, pinch your knees, and keep your feet crossed as much as you can, right? Catch the sub, keep the sub, grab it. Otherwise the dog takes it away. So from here, if he starts stacking me, I'm immediately looking for his leg, okay? I need to pull my head off the center line. So this way, if he tries to put his head over me, right, I'm doing as good of a job as possible of keeping myself off that center line, and then he will get tipped over, okay? Now sometimes flexibility will actually go against you in this. You notice there, like I don't hit resistance and my knees are in my face, okay? If you aren't quite that flexible, you'll actually hit a limit earlier and then he'll tip over faster. But it's not just a grip, okay? So from here, I catch the triangle, I'm crossing the arm, he starts stacking, like I need to get out of the way, like actually actively pivot your body. Don't just do this and say, Brian said grab the leg and then it'll protect me. No, because you're still midline, okay? And this should be a default reaction in any submission. Like if I'm going for an arm bar or something, if he's on his feet, I never want to be able to get picked up and slammed, okay? Right? If I'm here holding on, he picks me up and then I get dropped on my head, that's no fun, right? So we should always have this reaction with whatever submission we're going for. If he starts to posture up or is to hook, okay? Stop yourself from being pulled up and slammed, and stop yourself from being crushed in a straight line. Avoid this head on, okay? So catch your triangle, cross the arm. As he's starting to stack forward, and please do so slowly, guys, scoop, rotate out, find your leg, and finish the sweep where we can finish the lock too, okay? Or just let go and get on top. But just a little extra tidbit. Now, which leg is important? If I'm locked up here, so this light side arm is the one that's inside trapped, my hips don't twist this way, but they do rotate this way. So if I want to scoop on this side, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. But this side, I can actually pull myself offline, okay? So as long as I've crossed the arm, just go towards his hand, right? And naturally, he should be starting to go to this side anyways. So I scoop, and I finish my sweep, and then I try and cinch it up, and I sit here and make him suffer, okay? All right, guys, so again, be careful with the stack, and just work that reaction quickly. 1, 2. So again, not many people past a certain experience level are going to do that, just like drive in and stack again, unless there's a big size disparity. Like, yeah, if I'm fighting with someone who's 110, yeah, I might stack them. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just easier. It's like the lazy man escape. But again, today isn't about escapes, we're about just the attacking from the spider. Now, realistically, one of the most important things to get in a triangle to take out defense is pulling down on the head. So even though we did catch, cross, shin, pivot, lock, and finish, usually when you're under duress and you don't have that time to work, just grab the head as quickly as you can, okay? So everything the same, spider, get your triangle, but most of his escapes have to do with his head being nice and strong, up, posture, or dumping off of the line. So he's either gonna cut left or right. Most people go for the knee dump, which is just to grab here, and he buries my leg, taking the angle off, etc. Okay, so the first thing that you usually want to do, sorry, back to your feet, is find the head. As soon as there's any resistance, I lock right away, grab the head, break the posture, and stop him from going anywhere. And as you do that, now you get your shin, you lock up, you almost reverse the steps. Then tuck the arm in and do your final little adjustments until eventually you get your tap. Okay, so it's just a little bit more realistic. But again, you want to have those fundamental finishing points, that procedure of doing the triangle down, very similar to when we do our arm bar from close guard. I've said this before, right? We want to know to cross the arm, foot on the hip, pivot and bite, then the leg goes over. But realistically, you're just going to catch the arm and catch the whole position, okay? But when I hit resistance and I go here and it doesn't work, I need to know what I'm trying to accomplish step by step from a fundamentals point of view. Okay, so go back and then just speed through the triangle a bit. Do you guys need to see that one more time? No? One more time. I don't believe you.
Just want to choke me one more time.
Yeah. So again, spider, catch, right away, grab the head, pull down, start to cinch up, grab your shin, finish with the arm. It's not going to be as clean, but it's still going to work. Okay? 1, 2. But there's a couple of things I just wanted to point out. Another option to block the stack is literally just to post off your own knee. Okay? So, oh yeah. This one you go right into the triangle. Okay? So once I get into the triangle here, if I just block my own knee, it's really tough for him to get that weight down on me. I still don't want to be underneath him, so I'm always shoulder walking, getting away. I'm cinching up. I'm hooking his leg here. Oh, he fell. Now, if you get to here, I saw a lot of people kind of like, well, it's awkward to finish. But yeah, it is. Like, he's kind of survived here, but from this position, if I just scoop my hip out, step over his head, I'll just finish the arm bar instead. Okay, it's a very uncomfortable, very hard to defend position from him. But we start here just on the knees quickly. So from here, if I get kind of locked in and he starts trying to stack forward, just post off your own knee here. Okay, just hold him back. He's still getting choked at this point, right? But if you're actually squeezing at the same time. So just a simple option to block there. Another thing for the pivot, so once we get into the triangle here, is instead of scooping the leg, I can scoop the shoulder. And that also helps bring me over. He's, sorry, doing a bit of a keto right now. Okay, but I can kind of help pull myself over and stop him from stacking too, or even just to help adjust and pull me into position. One other detail that I didn't mention as well, because it kind of goes with what I was saying about this biting mentality, is one of the biggest mistakes that you have when people push off the hip is they hip escape and they drop their knee, okay? If we look at the neckline, we have these arteries coming through here, right? His arm is and shoulder is supposed to be cutting off that one, and then this angled leg is supposed to be cutting off the other. So I have this V with the bar on the back. That's creating the squeeze, right? So crossing the arm over is important, obviously, but my leg here, if I hip escape, I rotate it flat. So I'm taking the pressure off of that artery, and guys will be able to survive. His artery is sitting inside the pocket of your knee, okay? So that's why you never want to hip escape and drop your knee, and you make that mistake a lot as a beginner, and you're like, why is he surviving? Because he's got this little open gap here. So what we want to think about, not only pulling his head off and adjusting out, but you're always trying to get a deeper bite. Push your hamstring into his neck, okay? And we want to collapse that artery. You can kind of see here. We wish you had a bald guy in front of me right now. Oh, where's Jared? I mean, he's not bald, but he's got it. Anyways. So from here, when you start to squeeze and pull this leg, don't let this knee slide out, okay? Just because I'm pulling my foot forward doesn't mean I let everything loosen. I'm always trying to get deeper and deeper into his neck. Push into the throat. And then from here, we get a much better close. Okay? So just keep in mind some of those options. Again, there will be other variations. This isn't the last time we'll go for the triangle as part of the spider, but we'll do it off of the lasso and lapel. Okay? All right, guys, so specific, guy on top, try and pass the spider guard. Guy on the bottom, keep them there. That's number one, like we did last time. And then now you've got the triangle. Okay? Hunt it, hunt it, hunt it. Don't be afraid to fail and get your guard passed. You're just going to reset. Okay? Let's do it. Let's do it.